That was off to a great start, but let's kick it off right now. Thank you for the organizers for having me. Big shout out to Konstantin for the inspiring talk. I think it really set the tone for the whole meetup right now. And I'm Sarah. I'm a product manager of the Strato design system here at Dynatrace. And I want to show you today how we at Dynatrace basically understand, live and build the design system. But before we get started, I want to do some engaging part. So maybe at first, please raise your hand if you're currently working with a design system. Nice, cool, that's my crowd, cool. And now let's please raise your hand if you've heard of the Strato design system before. Okay, I hope I can inspire you today. What I want to show you is our journey that we had here at Dynatrace with the design systems. I want to introduce you to our design system, of course, Strato, and last but not least, of course, I want to draw a picture of what we do here. Let's start right away with the journey. So, funnily enough, pretty similar to George Design System. I saw a lot of similarities. So in 2016, we started off with our first CSS-only component library, quote unquote. Of course, it was not as full-fledged as design system component libraries are today, but it basically set the cornerstone for all of our future design system investments, which was in 2018 Barista. So Barista was born, it served our current generation product, and it served us very well. With Barista we learned a lot about design systems and about our culture as well here at Dynatrace, and how we can get development and design closer together basically. But when a small group of Dynatracers started working on a new idea for the next generation of our product, so the observability platform, they also had a lot of technical advancements planned. And we took that as an opportunity to also rethink design and design system, which led us to 2020 when Strato's first commit was committed. At first we built Barista and Strato in parallel, but pretty soon we saw that it makes sense to focus on a single design system, and as the new product was the future of Dynatrace, we also were able to focus on Strato only. So about 1 year in, we put Barista into maintenance mode, focused on Strato only, and it led us to Strato going public in 2023. And it was a pretty cool event because we celebrated that in Las Vegas. So we have our biggest customer conference, which is called Perform. It's it's always in Las Vegas. And we had a main stage talk here. You can see very tiny, my colleague Rasika introducing Strato and the Strato design system to our customers, to the world. But before we get started with Strato and what it actually is, let's see what we need to keep in mind when talking about Strato, and it's Dynatrace's scale. Our customers look at petabytes of data daily when looking at Dynatrace and the Dynatrace platform. And they do so in more than 30 different Dynatrace apps with different capabilities, from security, as we learned earlier, problems, notifications, traces, Kubernetes views, etc., etc. And this, of course, so the amount of data and the amount of internal adopters that we have brings unique challenges. So this overall scale, and also opportunities, of course, for the design system. So we need to opt for fast and deeply integrated problem solving. And just to give you a glimpse into what these screens look like here at Dynatrace, I brought some examples here. We really need to opt for high volumes of data, very dense visualization, because basically the goal is that our customers see a lot at first sight. And that's what we love designing and building for. And now, introducing you to Strato. Hopefully.
What does it take to make data meaningful? Meaningful to everyone. 1. Engineer a custom typeface, optimized for maximum readability and effortless scanning. 2. Craft flexible and accessible components that adapt to how you work. And 3. Let data tell the story, the whole story. So what does it take to make data meaningful to everyone? The smallest of details, done right, at scale. Introducing Strato, the new Dynatrace design system.
Thanks. And now you might want to see some examples. I really thought about what to show you because there's a lot to show, obviously, but I picked up 2 examples, so very specific examples, so please bear with me. The first one today that I want to introduce you today is our data table component. I mean, generally everybody knows tables, but again, petabytes of data. It's not uncommon that our apps visualize 800 columns, 10,000 of rows. So it's not only about visual challenge, but also performance challenge. So we basically need to support it. It's just a showcase here, but yeah, our table is very reactive. And I want to introduce you of how we make our designers and developers, so the consumers actually work with the data table. And at first I brought an example in Figma, so our designers work in Figma. We have Figma, or several Figma libraries actually, one being the Figma UI kit. And our designers need to drag and drop the data table component into the Figma file, obviously. And we try to make it quite simple to get all the necessary adoptions in. Everybody who knows Figma knows that by heart, I guess, how you configure components, how you can set designs. But you can see here how I put the rows into a condensed mode, did the same for the table header. I decided to have the first column like a name column. I just left the text in there for visualization purposes. The second column is called health. And what I did here is put chips into it. And you see that it is basically very easily available. I select the columns, I put chips in there, I configure the chips just for a showcase. Next, I put the % column in there and right align it. So that's also very common, you know, for numbers. Numbers usually are right aligned. So that's what I did here. And everything I do here, I did in 2 minutes. So I'm not a designer. Maybe you can do it faster. But it was is super easy to work with, and you need to keep in mind that almost every application, almost on every screen, we have a data table, and it's also very common to have a data table combined with data visualizations, so basically charts in data tables. And that's also one of the things that we try to combine as easily as possible. In this case, I showcase putting a sparkline chart into the columns, and what you will see in a second is me putting a meter bar chart into the data table. So as a designer, if you design a table or you use a table, you usually don't design the 900 columns and the 10,000 of rows, but what you do is just, I don't know, come up with a scheme to hand it over to developers. Here a lot of documentation is missing for handover and all of that, but again, in 2 minutes, data table with a toolbar, download button, pagination, everything that you actually need for a handover. Cool, and how would that look like in code now? So imagine I hand it over to a developer. Developer knows instantly what we mean by the design. What do? They already have the data available somewhere in a backend service, in a database, and now they configure the columns. And they say the columns have certain names, we want chips in columns, we want to right-align certain columns, we want to put a sparkline chart in there, we want to put a meter bar chart in there. So they basically configure the columns, and then it's super easy React code. You just say, I want to import my data table, I give them the column definition, I give it the data, I put the row density into condense, I put the toolbar in there and the pagination and everything else works out of the box. So it's really quite slim code. And to bore you even further, so that's the result of my coding example. And to bore you even further, I have a second example here with me, and then I'm done. The second example I have is the so-called segment selector component. So here at the Strato design system, it's really not just about visuals and UI and components representing UI, but we took it even a step further and connected some of the components to backend services, to data tables, have them handle user permissions, for example, out of the box, so the developer experience is as great as humanly possible. The segment selector, you don't need to know about the details, but it's basically a filter component. Users use it to filter for their data. And yeah, you can use it, you can filter for it. You have recently used segment filters visualized, you have pinned or saved segment filters visualized, and there's also some form of user permission control. And all of that you can put in your app by dragging and dropping the component into your design. That's obviously very simple, not a lot of configuration needed in Figma. And in code, for you as a consumer, it's just a one-liner basically. And that's all what we do. So we evolve to be more than just UI, and also focus on backend, user permissions and other stuff. And that's also what we will do more in the future. And one last thing to mention, of course, it's not only me working on the design system, but right now we are over 40 developers for the design system at Dynatrace. We are 7 designers currently in Austria and Barcelona. So yeah, thanks to the wonderful team and kudos to all of you. And yeah, thanks for your attention. Do you have any questions?
You mentioned that you don't necessarily only concern yourself with visual stuff, but also like with the data layer. Does that mean like visualization and stuff is also part of the library, and you have an opinionated way to do that already, or is that like ad hoc in application code?
Exactly, we have an opinionated way already. So a big focus of ours is not only a data table, but also charts, so everything to do with a bunch of data. That's why we learned that we need to have an opinion on that. So yeah, that's what we do already. And that's also why we need a bunch of developers to do all of that, yeah.
Maybe I can answer, Sarah.
Sure.
We have, how many database teams do we have?
Free currently, free.
We have 3 teams dedicated only to data visualization in the design system.
Understandable.
Anyone else?
Do you have like any custom plugins developed internally for setting up like views or tables or things like that? Because dragging a component into a view and then selecting all the cells, while you can do it quickly, maybe not every designer can, and then changing components of a table might take additional time. Have you thought about having a plugin that simplifies those steps?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. So currently we don't have any plugins in place, but what we currently do, I mean, AI is a thing, AI in Figma is a thing as well. So that's what we are currently looking into. So we wouldn't focus on Figma plugins now, because the idea is that AI will help you with that anyway soon. So we're not only looking into Figma Make, we're looking into Figma Code Connect, connecting the Figma library and component library in code basically. And we have the Figma MCP server connected to our GitHub Copilot to make the whole process easier. So right now we don't have any solution for that, but we are actively looking into making that easier, yeah. Also for beginners, of course, yeah. Anyone else? I don't know how's the time.
Still time for a question or two.
What's the current challenge that you have with the design system, and how do you think that you want to solve it?
Yeah, that's really a good question. So I think as many design system folks here have the same challenge. For us currently, it's really about design system being flexible, but at the same time, the product aims for more consistency, the same solution where it makes sense. And what that means for us is that someone at Dynatrace needs to take care of actually that alignment. Even though if the component, a button has 6 different colors, variants, whatever, how do you make sure that the correct variant is used in the correct place? And the whole making sure that everything is consistent and feels cohesive, that's the biggest challenge we have right now, because we are the most knowledgeable about design, we are most knowledgeable about the components and how they're intended to be used. And so it's very obvious that we could also look into every application using the components in the right way, but this just doesn't scale. So this is really an organizational topic that we currently have now that the new generation of the product with the Strato design system is quite mature already. At first it wasn't a problem because we were iterating super fast, everyone was iterating super fast, design system, all the apps, but right now where everyone gets more mature, the ask is for more consistency, which is understandable, but we don't really have that grooved in right now. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we also face as a team. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything in the large dashboard that you presented that you think to reduce the cognitive overload of somebody monitoring this entire landscape and having focus more on one area or the other when something is changing and needs attention grabbing?
Yeah. What you need to keep in mind, for example, for a dashboard, it's user configurable. So that's not what the user is presented with, but the user decides what data is interested to them. There are ready-made dashboards available where you say, I don't know, we think we're opinionated, we think that's the data you want to see for your Kubernetes cluster. But here, this example, I built myself. And I personally looked at data density, getting a lot of data in there, because sometimes where you see these screens, it's not problem solving, I need to be quick and need to be able to scan quickly, but these kind of dashboards you for example, see on big TVs in a company somewhere being shown there all day long. So you know the dashboard by heart. So that's one of the use cases. But yeah, actually we do have other apps as well where we try to, our aim is always to be as intelligent as possible and get the user intent and show them only what they need. But sometimes they need 1,000 log lines. Yeah.
Do you have any concerns that this kind of UI, as much as you're investing in it, might be superseded by agentic AI system that just notify people when something is wrong based on whatever customers configure, and then you wouldn't, in theory, need all that?
Yeah, so I personally am not worried because that's what we offer as well. So we have the AI offering, the agentic AI offering that notifies people. So this kind of feature is part of ours, of the Dynatrace offering. I wanted to say dashboards is something that I picked out for the presentation because it's nice to visualize all the data visualizations. But you need to keep in mind with a lot of AI power and AI capabilities also comes the responsibility of AI observability. So for example, GitHub offers GitHub Copilot. They want to know how Copilot works. Does it have any errors? Do I need to be notified? And that's also part of our offering that we have here. So we offer not only AI, but also observing AI. So I don't know, maybe dashboards will get less relevant in the future, but definitely not the product overall. But 100% the design will change over time. But that's what we do anyways. I guess every design system just adapts to the current need. The IT market changes, and so does the product and the design system.
You didn't mention tokens specifically, but I guess you're using design tokens for the design system.
Exactly.
Did you use them before Figma introduced them? Are you happy with what Figma offers in terms of tokens, or do you rely on some other tools like Token Studio or other applications to manage them between Figma and code?
Actually, we have our custom tooling. We maintain the tokens basically, we come up with the tokens in Figma, but we maintain them in code. So coming up with them is a one-time thing in Figma, where we see, I don't know, do the colors look nice and whatever. Then we have them basically in a large JSON file, and from the JSON file we serve Figma as well as our code library. So we have custom tooling because that just fit our needs very well at the time being. So yeah, that's how we do it.
I'd say let's finish here, and if you have more questions, break and afterwards.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.